So a couple of days ago, I did a video on emulation, and of course, piracy is pretty closely linked to emulation. So I figured I'd cover piracy a little bit too. I received a few comments that were talking about how piracy can be seen as a preservation tactic, and that can be true for a good part of it, but it is still illegal. It's still not good to do. But again, like emulation, there's a lot of situations where it is really one of the only feasible things to do. Why is that? For example, if you're in another region, if you're in another area, you can't access the game, right? Now, of course, it should really go without saying that piracy is 100% bad, but it can also be life-saving for those that otherwise can't get to experience the game, One of the first, most recent, if controversial, examples that I could give you would be Stalker 2 in Russia. So, being that those two nations are, having their issues at the moment, GSC, the studio behind Stalker, decided to say, hey, you know what? We're not gonna release this game in the country that's sort of fucking with us. So, I'd imagine with the game being, heard of, pretty normal in those parts, that it may get pirated. It would have been regardless, but that definitely didn't help. Being that if you're in that region, you can't access it, which is what I'm trying to get to. There is, of course, other various reasons to do so, but as I've said before, if you can support the creator, if you can find a way to, get said money to the creator, to pay the fucking studio behind the company for their time and effort invested into the game, then you should. But if you can't, then obviously you can't, right? To go back to emulation for a second, abandonware is also a pretty important topic here. So again, if it's a game that you've abandoned, okay, it's abandonware, you can no longer receive profits from this game, then there's no downside really to pirating the game, right? Because you're not profiting from it. There's no real incentive because you haven't provided an incentive or a method for incentive. Here's another situation. Maybe you're a teenager, you're a kid, you're still in school, you have no way of making any money whatsoever. You still want to play these new games. You're on a system that is able to run these new games. The only thing that's stopping you is the fact that you cannot afford them because you have no money to buy them, right? So it gets more ethical here. Would you say that since you've had no money at all, could you have potentially, maybe paid the creator and, actually buy the game? Or would it really matter since you wouldn't have had any money in the first place between buying or pirating the game? Because one of the first things that comes to mind when pirating is talked about is the loss that happens, of course. That is the talking point that every game pirated is, that equivalent value, right? To expand on that a bit, I guess I'd say that if you're a company and you have so many copies of this game, you're expecting so much profit in this quarter, you're like, oh, well, we've sold 10 million copies, but 1 million we can maybe, potentially write off or something. I don't know, I'm not a fucking shareholder, right? But you could potentially write off, just say that 1 million of those copies, they were lost, they were stolen, it's pirated, right? So you could put that into your profit somehow. You could say that, oh, well, this is how much we expected to have, but since this happened to 1 million of our product, well, this is actually what we have. So that doesn't help how it's perceived. Now, of course, since this is naturally like a profit, like a money-driven thing, it's going to be controversial, right? Just like anything else of this nature is going to be, because it involves money. People want to fund their lifestyles. They want to buy their yachts and shit. And everybody buying that $70 game, it's not $60 now, it's fucking $70 for whatever reason. Everybody buying that game, that's part of that, man. So every person not doing that, that's felt, apparently. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent there. I just, it kind of happened naturally. But back to the main point. Here's another idea. Steam's refund feature, if you play it within, 2 hours and you say, oh, well, you know what, I can't run this game, this game's not for me, etc., then yeah, but let's just say You don't have Steam, okay? You have another platform. You have another platform. You don't have Steam, whatever, okay? So you decide, I'm gonna download this game for free before I buy it. See how it runs, see how it plays, and then if it goes well, then I'll buy it. There's another situation. Keep in mind, of course, this does vary from person to person. You know, everybody's gonna say something different. Everybody's gonna say, oh well, you're just a fucking loser if you can't buy the game, right? You know? What if you're not middle class and you don't want to pay for the 14 different streaming services that have propped up since cable has died? You know, you just bought fucking Netflix and you find out that whatever you want to watch is on Hulu or fucking Max, okay? Do you really want to switch to the streaming service for that one thing? No. No, you don't. So people are going to do what they do. Not that I've really given much shot on this one, but pirating can also be somewhat of a means of protest. You can still experience and play the game without giving the creators the money that they've, invested into it. I can't really think of any scenarios that this really applies to, but I just thought I'd throw it out there. What about a game you've bought multiple times? Or one time, period? If you've already paid for the game, who's to say you can't just fucking download it again, right? There's no difference. You've already given the creator of the game their money for said game, so it shouldn't matter. So as you can see, there's multiple different use cases. There's multiple different examples, scenarios. You know, shit happens, right? Everyone's different. Everything's different. You don't know what somebody's going through. You know what circumstances are happening in their life. It's just hard to say. Is piracy legal? Is it bad? Is it wrong? I'd have to say, for a good bit of the time, yeah, but what can you do, really? If we stopped these unethical practices, region locking, fucking... just letting your game go for no reason, then I'm sure a good chunk of piracy would stop, because then people would be able to pay for the shit they love. But guess what, man? They fucking can't. So we're kind of stuck here. I mean, you're always going to have people not want to pay for the games that they want to play. You know, they're poor, they're fucking greedy, you know, whatever. But yeah, that's always going to be a component. But there's other things to it. Anyway, I don't know, man. I just wanted to get this out there, you know. I don't even know if this is the fucking, like, universal take, if this is what other people were saying. This is my personal opinion, right? So, that's it, man. Yeah.